We are going to begin the funeral service for Mr. Michael Goldberg. If you have a cell phone, I'd ask you kindly to place it into silent mode at this time or turn it completely off. I'd like to welcome everyone also via live stream on behalf of the family. Thank you for attending as well. And services will be conducted by Rabbi Jeffrey Weil of Ezra Habanim, the Niles Township Jewish Congregation in Skokie.
In the Bible, when something very sad or shocking or calamitous would happen to our biblical forebears, they tear their garments. It was a sign of their sort of exposing their wounded hearts. And we have now the ritual, the custom of kriya, which means tearing, which the mourners will do in a moment. I will guide you in the ceremony of kriya. And when Faith and Nick and Ann and Harry, who are wearing the kriya ribbons now, I believe the four of you are wearing those ribbons, you'll rise in a moment and I'll lead you in the blessing. The blessing acknowledges God as the Dayan Ha'emet, the judge of truth, which frankly is a difficult theology to accept, that God is the judge of truth, or the true judge, when something very sad and shocking happens in our lives. But Jewish tradition nudges us in that direction to understand God in that way, even at times when we might doubt that. So I ask the four of you to rise, and I'll come forward and we'll do that blessing together.
I'll recite the blessing, and you can repeat the blessing after me, and then we'll do it together. Okay? Baruch atah Adonai, Baruch atah Adonai, Dayan Ha'emet. Amen.
Adonai, Ma'adam v'teda ehu, ben enosh v'techeshvehu, Adam lehevel dama, Yamav kitzel over, b'boki yatzitz v'chalaf, la'erev yimalel v'yavesh. These are the words of the psalmist in the psalm saying, Adonai, eternal God, what are we that you have regard for us, and what are we that you would even be mindful of us? We are all of us just a breath. Our days are like a passing shadow. We come and go like grass, which in the morning it shoots up and is renewed, and in the evening of all of our lives it fades and withers. Such is our lives. But God, you cause all of us to return unto dust, saying, Shuvu b'nei Adam, return, O mortal ones. Would that we were wise, would that we understood whither we go from here, for when we die we carry nothing with us, not our riches, not our glory. But God, you say, Shmor tam urei yashar, mark the wholehearted, behold the upright. Those are the ones who shall find shalom, who shall find peace in the end. We gather sadly on this day to remember one, honor one who is wholehearted and upright, who is full of life and spirit and fun, Michael Goldberg. You'll find the 23rd Psalm in our handouts. Our scriptures seem to have something to say for every moment of our lives, the times of celebration, which I know this family had fairly recently, which is wonderful, but the times of great sadness as well, a time like this. We read together the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Esa inai el haharim me'ain yavo Ezri. Ezri me'im Adonai osei shamayim va'aretz. I lift up my eyes unto the mountains. What is the source of my help? My help comes from the eternal God, maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way. Your protector will not slumber. Behold, the protector of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. God is your guardian and your protection at your right hand. May the sun not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. May God guard you from all harm. May God guard your soul, your going out and your coming forth now and forever. The third chapter of Ecclesiastes, or in Hebrew Kohelet, which is familiar, the verses are familiar to all of us, also presents this idea that everything proceeds or sort of unfolds in life in a way that it should. Again, difficult to understand when there are some things that you wish there were no time and season for, but alas. L'kol zman ve'et l'chol chefetz tachat hashemayim, et laledet ve'et lamut, et lata'at ve'et la'kor natua, et lifrot ve'et livnot, et livkot ve'et lischok. For everything there is a season, a time for every experience under heaven, a time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot that which is planted, a time to tear down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to grieve and a time to dance, a time to throw stones and a time to gather stones together, a time to embrace and a time when we must refrain from our embraces, a time to seek and a time to lose, a time to keep, a time to discard, a time to tear, a time to sow, a time for silence and a time to speak. And so this is an appropriate time to speak, to share words in memory of Mike Goldberg. Throughout the year at synagogues all over the world, we make our way through the Torah, through the 5 books of Moses. And this week we begin the book of Exodus. And that's when we're really introduced to Moses. There's a lot to Moses, his character. But one of the most prominent traits, in fact, I would say the most prominent trait that the Torah says about him, is that he was Ne'aman. Ne'aman is often translated as faithful, but it's really more appropriately loyal and devoted. Moses, in addition to his loyalty to God, which was well described in Torah, was also extremely devoted to other people. He was extremely devoted to the Israelite people, but he was also devoted to his own people, like his family. And there are lots of scenes throughout Torah that describe his interactions with his family, members of his family. Sometimes it describes him being frustrated with his family. Sometimes his family members made him angry. Sometimes Moses lost his temper in Torah. But he consistently, regardless of any of that, he always went out of his way for them. He would sacrifice for them. He sought to protect those he loved and to defend them with his very life. It happened over and over. Mike Goldberg possessed that sort of devotion and loyalty to the people he loved, to his family and to his friends. And given the size of this group here and those who are online, there were many of those. Mike was 100% devoted to you, to those he loved. And if Mike was devoted to you, you can absolutely count on him. Many counted him as a friend. And he was a devoted family member too, a devoted son and brother and brother-in-law, cousin, uncle, and so forth. And he was also devoted most especially to his family, to his wife and son, Faith and Nick. Our hearts go out to you for this terrible and unexpected loss. Michael Goldberg was the son of Anne and Isaac, younger brother by 5 years to Harry. Harry was born in Israel. Mike was born here. Isaac and Anne worked at Strumbecker, a huge company that made slot cars and a whole lot more. The family lived at Kimball and Berto, and Mike began high school at Sen, but then the family moved up to Skokie, as many Jewish families did around that time, and he continued at Niles North. Mike, as a young man, and you could definitely see it in these wonderful collage of pictures, had a big and free spirit. As his older brother Harry said, Mike kept life interesting. He did. And yet he was also no slouch. He became a very hard worker. This was especially apparent after he and Faith married nearly 35 years ago, and especially after Nick came into the world as well. At that time, Mike worked 3 jobs to support his family. He was the kind of person who could fix things and build things, lots of different projects. He was a problem solver. He could figure things out. And his mom would say that it was difficult to imagine how the free-spirited teenager and very young man, Michael, morphed into such a hard-working adult Michael. But he did. Being a husband and father perhaps brought that out in him. He relished his role of father, as Nick's father, and he was an extremely attentive and loving dad. The two of them had a whole lot of fun together, shooting off rockets. And when Nick was little, he would sit on his dad's lap in the car, and Mike would let Nick drive. And Mike also demonstrated how he could drive, showed his son how he could drive with no hands. Nick had no idea that Mike was driving with his knee. For Mike, it was a lot of fun and games. That's how he was. But he also taught his son important lessons, like how to be polite and respectful, loyal, of course. On Sundays, often after a breakfast at Denny's to get the Grand Slam, Mike and Nick would visit Mike's mom, Nick's grandma, Anne, on Sundays, demonstrating some role modeling respect for elders. Anne and Harry and Mike lost Isaac early. He died too soon as well. And Mike, as Harry said, Mike fervently hoped to be able to spend even 5 minutes with his father in heaven. And I believe that those desires of ours are satisfied, that we are reunited with the ones that we love, and those reunions are not bound by time at all. Mike was indeed dedicated to those people that he loved and protective of them as well. And he was also protective of the things that he loved, namely his bikes, his motorcycles. And you see them, that's attested to here as well. Mike took great measures to ensure that his Harley, his most recent bike, would not be hit or bumped or anything by anyone's car or anything like that. One of his great passions was to satisfy that great, free, energetic spirit of his by hitting the open road on his Harley. And Mike, as I'm sure you know, was a joker too. He had an irreverent, raw sense of humor. This is one reason, I'm sure among others, that Nick's friends liked Mike so much. He would joke around, he would tease. Years ago, he taught his younger cousins that their father, Mike's Uncle Phil, was something cute, a cute name for him. I won't say it. Okay, Turkey. That joke, that Uncle Turkey joke or whatever, has endured through the decades, but he was, of course, a beloved nephew to Phil and to Lucy. And as I mentioned, he was devoted to his work, and he continued always to work hard. He loved his job at L.A. Daniels, and he and Faith were both very grateful to Mike's caring and understanding and, like him, loyal boss. Mike Goldberg was certainly a devoted brother to Harry, and in recent years, the two of them would visit their mom, Anne, together regularly on Sundays, I believe. This also allowed the brothers to bond at an important time, for both of them. And it was clear to Harry, through what Mike told him, how much his younger brother loved his family, Faith and Nick. And Mike would talk especially about how proud he was of his son, of the man that Nick has become. The family gathered for a great simcha. Was it October 1st? The wedding of Becky and Dan. I'm sure for everyone, and perhaps especially for Anne, it was wonderful to celebrate a happy moment, to see everyone together, the whole family, Michael and Harry and Arlene and Faith and Nick, Jeremy, Alex, Becky and Dan, together that day having such a good time. And it's honestly strange and perhaps a little surreal now to contrast that happy day, that very happy day for all of you, just a couple months ago, with this very, very sad day. Also, it must be noted that Mike and Faith and Nick experienced a tough time last week as they put down both of their beloved pups that they've had since they were puppies, Bailey and Holly, 17 and 19 years old. Bailey was Mike's girl. It's very difficult to lose our pets, members of the family. The consolation has been for that loss that you had each other. And now, with this very, very monumental and unexpected loss, may you continue, all of you, to offer consolation to one another. May you continue to be present for each other, to remain close to one another. And may you be, as Mike would be, loyal to one another. There's a sort of strange saying by our sages that says, "Let there be mourning at the time of mourning, and let there be rejoicing at the time of rejoicing." It seems obvious, but it's interesting. What do they mean? It means that sometimes you can do both at the same time. You mourn now, of course, for you have lost someone so special, someone that you expected to share life's journey with for a long time to come. It's a painful time. But may there be, in the midst of this mourning period, if possible, a measure of rejoicing as well. May you all rejoice, even during the sadness, in the midst of the sadness. May you rejoice in the friendship and companionship that you had with Mike. And may you always remember and rejoice in his playfulness and his humor and his spirit. And may you rejoice as you remember him in the fierce loyalty and in his true love. And may that ever be an example for you all. Zichrono livracha, may his memory be for blessing. Amen. Now honored to call forward Mike's friend, Danio.
Hello, everyone. My name is Danio. I knew Mike for well over 40 years. And there's a lot I'd love to say. You were very eloquent in what you said about him as well. You stole half my speech. But I probably, if anybody knows me, I'm not a man of very many words, but I felt I had to come up here and say something. And I probably should be totally terrified right now But somehow I just have this feeling that Mike is standing right next to me with his arm around me telling me, you got this. Because that's what he did for all of us, always. He always told us, you got this, no matter how hard it was or easy it was. He was our rock. He was somebody that we could turn to. I mean, a lot of people say, okay, therapy, this and that. I'd call Mike because somehow he could figure it out. And he taught me that I could do the same thing, that I could be strong in times like these, adversity, somewhere where you don't know you're comfortable. I'm going to miss him more than anything. He was my friend, and more than anything, I think I can say he was my brother. I lost my family when I was young, and I met Mike, and his mom and his dad took me in and said, you're our son now. And I truly took that to heart, and I always felt that way, and I still feel that way. And none of us want to do this, and I don't want to say goodbye, and I don't even think I'll ever be able to. Just know, Mike, I love you. You're always in my heart. Thank you.
Thank you, Donio. Those were honestly extremely eloquent words. Thank you. Leda hireshit uftirat tachlit hachayim kamasahem kalichat tzmicha mishalav l'shalav. Death is a beginning, birth is a beginning, death a destination, and life a journey. A journey, you could say, on the open road. A going and a growing from stage to stage. And the great journey, great life journey of Mike Goldberg's life has now come to its destination, its conclusion. And so, O God, into your spirit we entrust the spirit of Michael Goldberg, for you keep faith with your children in death as in life. Sustain all of us, O God, that we may meet with serenity the mysteries that lie ahead for us, knowing that when we walk through the valley of the shadow of death, you, O God, will be with us as a loving friend in whom we put our trust. You are the light of our lives and our hope in eternity. If it's comfortable for you to do so, please rise for the memorial prayer, El Malei Rachamim, followed by Mourner's Kaddish. El Malei Rachamim, Shochein Bamromim, Hamatzei Menucha Nechona Tachat Kanfei Hashchina, Im Kedoshim Utoharim, Kezohar Rakiyam Asirim, Et Nishmat Hayikar Shalanu, Shahalach Le'olamo, Baal Harachamim Yastirehu, Veseter Kenafav Le'olamim, for its word b'tor chachayim et nishmato. Adonai hu nachalato, v'yanuach b'shalom al mishkavo, v'nomar. Amen. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence with the holy and the pure who shine like the light of the heavens. To Michael Goldberg, who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let him find refuge in your eternal presence and within the shadow of your wings. Let his soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is his inheritance. May he rest in peace. And we say, Amen. Oh God, help us to understand that this grief goes hand in hand with the love that we feel. That the pain which loss inflicts is the measure of love that is always stronger than death, such as love. Though we cry, may we also be like children who know that their ultimate parent, you, O God, is near, and who cling unafraid to that trusted hand. In this spirit, O God, do we commit all that is precious to us into your hands, as we now repeat the words hallowed by generations, Mourner's Kaddish. Mourner's Kaddish is in your handout as well. In the back panel. Yitgadal v'yikadash shemei rabbah, be'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich machutei, be'chayechon uv'yomechon, uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman kariv v'imru amen, yehei shmei rabbah mevarach, la'olam olamei amaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yit hadar, v'yit aleh, v'yit halal, shemei dekudasha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran ba'ama v'miru, amen. Yehei shlam rabba min shmaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. O se shalom b'mramav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. Go your way, for God has called you. Go your way, and may God be with you. May your righteousness and your spirit go before you, and may the glory of God receive you. Amen. You may be seated.
This does conclude the memorial service here at the chapel. The family will be immediately receiving calls of condolences at Harry and Arlene Goldberg's residence, 6 Night Hill Court in Buffalo Grove. Again, that'll be immediately, they'll be returning right here from the chapel to their residence, 6 Night Hill Court in Buffalo Grove, from now until sundown today. That address is on the folders. If you didn't get one, please get one as you leave, and the information is also on the website. At this time, I would like everyone to please rise as the family, the rabbi, and Mr. Goldberg are escorted from the chapel. We could please rise. This way.